Hey everyone, I'm trying out something new with this Drunk Max 2 behind the scenes video, something different than what we did for the last one. So, just trying it on, and if it's something that, seems okay, then we'll keep doing it. And if not, we'll always go back to the old one. But what I want to do is kind of give a general, I guess, retrospect of what it was making Drunk Max 2. So think of this as almost an audio commentary for the movie without actually really being an audio commentary for the movie if you think about it. So basically, the general idea of doing Drunk Max 2 and to an extent Drunk Max 3 happened around the time I just finished working on Drunk Max 1. What happened was, like I mentioned in the previous behind the scenes, I was getting ready to do Bachelor Party, and I was so excited to be doing movies again that I wrote Drunk Max 1 well in advance of the filming date. And so after I was finished writing Drunk Max 1, I kept coming up with other ideas of what I wanted to do, for a Max movie. And the ideas didn't really make sense to do it for Max 1. The biggest reason being that Max 1 was a movie that was done 100% drunk, so any ideas I would have while sober didn't really make sense to stick into it. So instead, I kind of just pushed off the idea, and then I kind of started thinking, well, maybe I should make a sequel because I have all these ideas of what I'd like to do, and I'm limiting myself, or I'm saying don't do it, just for the sake of being worried of making a sequel and making Max into a series of films and whatnot. Because I didn't really want to do that at the time. I kind of wanted to keep going and make other stuff, but I make these films for me and me only. So I thought, well, not me only, but you have to find kind of joy in making what you make. You can't just, I'm not working for a major company. I'm doing these movies. It's my hobby. And I want to make people laugh, but at the same time, I also want to make a movie that I want to make. So I said, screw it. I'm going to do it. And at that point, I decided to make Drunk Max 2 and Drunk Max 3. Obviously, we'll talk about Drunk Max 3 a different day, but Drunk Max 2 happened. Basically, I also realized a lot of these ideas I was having, I was coming up with when I was not drunk. So I said, well, if the first movie was 100% done while drunk, the second movie will be half drunk and half normal. And I kind of thought of it as almost two directors directing a movie, where it was one singular vision, but you had two different personalities of myself basically directing it. So there, I was able to kind of use a lot of the ideas that I wanted to do, and that was kind of the first step, the birth of the Max things. I actually wouldn't start writing the script until much, much, much later. I didn't start writing it until around, oh boy, it was right after we were done filming Drunk Max 1, or while I was editing it, is when I started writing it. But the process, was I was thinking of ideas in that time while I was making Bachelor Party and filming Drunk Max 1. The ideas were still flowing, and I would write them down whenever I had an idea. So, like I said, writing had kind of started while I was finishing filming Drunk Max 1 or while I was editing it. And that's officially when, I guess, pre production or development started on Drunk Max 2. The script, we went through, I went through a few iterations of it. Obviously, the first draft is never going to be what I'm going to film. I'm going to want to work on other stuff. So, draft number one was just kind of like, here's the movie on paper. I did a second draft, which I thought was going to be my final draft. And basically, in the original script, the character Lena, who appears in the film, was actually originally going to be Max's sidekick instead of Rico Ropa. I just wanted, me and my sister to be together. We had been in one scene in Bachelor Party, and I thought, we had such a fun time filming that I thought it'd be really cool to do that for a whole movie. But it became very clear that my sister's schedule, it just wasn't going to work out. So I did an updated draft or a second draft where she actually wasn't in the movie at all. It was Max. I mean, it was Rico Ropa and Max the whole time. But then, we kept pushing back and pushing back, and so I ended up doing another draft where this other draft of the film, I gave back a lot of the scenes that Lena had, but I made it kind of half of her scenes were back, but half of Rico Ropa's scenes were back. And I just kept writing and writing, and I realized that it didn't really make a whole lot of sense what I was doing. Um, so I figured, well, if draft one had too much Lena, draft two had no Lena, and draft three is half and half, why don't I do more like 75% Rico and then 25% Lena? So Lena's in two scenes, well, two and a half scenes in the final cut of the movie, and Rico is in more of the movie, but originally that was, the whole idea. We did use the same locations as the first movie. It just made sense because of, Max living in his house and not much of that changing. So, we didn't film anywhere or anything like that. No new places. There was no need for it. This was the first movie that I ever used blue screen technology for. And so I actually did do a test shoot during pre production, which actually became the teaser trailer for the film. And the test shoot was just, sorting out all the blue screen stuff, making sure I could do the alien scenes, that everything made sense with the movie. And, it turned out to be pretty good. Obviously, I still had a lot of problems later on, but the blue screen test shoot really did help me figure out, some of the problems I might have while filming the movie, and it actually saved me quite a bit of time when we were editing later on in post production. And pretty much, yeah, the rest of post production, I mean, pre production went really well. We had everything sorted out, and it was able for us to have a smooth transition into production. So when we started production, it took approximately about 5 months to shoot the movie. Principal photography started on August 8th, 2015, and we ended up wrapping on December 20th, 2015. The first shot we did for the movie was the shot of Max on the floor shaking after he loses his powers, which was really funny. And the last shot we did for principal photography was Lena and I throwing confetti during the montage scene that we saw. And it's funny because if you look around, you can see Christmas. I think you see the Christmas tree in the background of some of the shots because that was December. Pickups were done. We did end up doing pickups, and it was the pickups weren't any. They weren't new things that we had figured out to do or anything like that. It was just smaller things. I didn't have to go back and refilm things like I did in Drunk Max 1. It was really just scenes we didn't have time to film during the 5 month production schedule because of schedules and whatnot. So for pickups, which we did all of them January 2016, we really just filmed the scenes that my friend Brian was in and my friend Hota was in. Hota's scenes didn't take too long to do. He kind of came over and we shot his scenes all in one day. I think in the span of an hour it was shot. And he was actually the last elements we shot for the movie. Brian came and we actually had to shoot him partially on a blue screen because I really wanted Brian to be in the group shots that we shot for the party sequences during principal photography, but he couldn't make it because I think he had a wedding to go to for his cousin. So instead, I ended up making it that he was the first person that I ever used to do a blue screen shot where we're going to insert him into a scene that we hadn't done before. And that was tricky because basically the day we shot the plate that he was going to be inserted in, I just told everyone, look, guys, Brian's going to be right here, okay? Pretend Brian's here. And we shot the scene, and then I had to match up where Brian was standing and, film him in front of a blue screen doing that. And I had to tell him, hey, you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that, you have people around you. And, I mean, the shot doesn't look the best it could look, but look, I was using a blue blanket as a blue screen. We actually didn't have a blue screen. I hope to buy a blue or green screen in the future. But I think for what it was, it turned out okay. And overall, production was pretty smooth. It was a lot tougher to do than Drunk Max 1, of course. It was definitely more of a complex film. Having to do the half drunk, half sober stuff was really hard at times. There were a lot of moments where I definitely had blackouts and I don't remember shooting certain things because I was drunk, but it also didn't take that much of a toll on my body as the first film did because there were times that I was able to rest. Oftentimes, we would start the day off shooting all the sober stuff, and then we would wrap and take a short little break. And during that break, I would get drunk, and then we'd go back and shoot all the drunk scenes for the day. And we averaged about, I'd say, like 2 days of filming a month, maybe three, during the 5 month shoot. But it was really fun for the most part, and the party scenes were fun to shoot. I got to work with Susie for the first time, which is something I've never done before. She kind of cameoed in the film, and it was really great being able to, have more people in the movie and really explore Max's world. The first movie was it was just me and my wife really, and the second movie we kind of exploded it up to have a lot more people involved in a lot more scenes, and it was definitely felt more like a bigger film than Max 1 was, which was kind of the whole point of this movie. So during the post production process, it was kind of funny how we did this. I was actually editing the movie while we were filming it. So during the 5 month shoot, whenever I would get a new scene, I would stick it in where it belonged in the timeline and do like a rough cut of it just so I would know how everything kind of turned out and things like that. Or sometimes when we were done filming and I was still a little bit drunk, I would take advantage of that and edit a drunk scene that we had already shot or that we had shot that day just to take advantage so I wouldn't have to get drunk again specifically. Um, when we were done filming, though, I did need an extra month and a half of editing once the pickup shots were finished. So once we had the whole movie done, all the shots I needed, even the pickup ones were done, I did need an extra month and a half. So it took me about 6.5 months to edit the movie, I guess. The movie was actually fully finished. I had a final cut of the movie, all the effects were in, everything was completed on February 28th, 2016. But I actually had to delay the release of the movie because of some financial issues my wife and I were having at the time. At the time, we were pregnant with our first baby, and we hadn't really told anybody at that point. And so we were also looking for a steady job because my wife and I really didn't have a steady income at the time. So it was a really scary time for this. So even though the movie was done, I wanted to have a premiere party and all that, and I knew I couldn't really do that at the time. So my wife and I just kind of held off on doing it until we felt a little bit more financially secure and things like that. During production of the movie, I did release a teaser trailer and a full trailer before the release of the movie. I had no intentions of doing a teaser, but I thought the test shots that we did during pre-production were so good. I said, you know what, this is the teaser trailer. So I ended up releasing that, I believe, around the time we just started filming the film. And the full trailer was released in December, I believe, right after principal photography had finished. So that was a cool thing to do, just kind of let people know what was going on with the movie. We ended up having the premiere of the film at my parents' house on April 16th, 2016. And the film was released for everybody else to watch on April 18th, 2016 via YouTube. To give my overall thoughts on the movie, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed with the way the film was received, and have since realized a lot of the issues the film had. Overall, I was very happy I made the movie, and I still think it's a great watch if you're drunk. It did exactly what I wanted to do with Drunk Max 2. When I finished Drunk Max 1 and I watched it, the biggest complaint I had about my own movie was it was just me. I was the only real person on screen. And I know the movie is about the title character, but I wanted to kind of expand it a bit and be able to incorporate other characters. And even though Drunk Max 2, Max is still the primary person, I wanted to introduce the aliens that we open the movie with and all this other stuff. I'm also really proud of the intro, which is an homage or recreation of the intro to Alien. So there were a lot of things that I did like about the movie. I think the drunk scenes are still really funny and were really fun to do. People not really enjoying it. The premiere, it was a mixed bag. A lot of the jokes fell flat, and watching it with a bigger audience really made me think of a lot of different things I could have done differently, and to really just be a little bit more collaborative with the films that you make, because I really was almost like an editing dictator with this film and would disregard a lot of the advice I had from people, which I thought maybe would have helped complement the film. But with Drunk Max 3 around the corner, um, I can incorporate all these ideas into it and definitely make it a strong closing for the movie. It is going to be the chapter of the Max saga, the final chapter. It closes the whole Max stuff, and with that, I'll be moving on to new projects. And like I said, if I didn't make this movie, I couldn't have made Drunk Max. I can't really have made Drunk Max 3 because Part 2 really does expand the world, and it really does introduce a lot of elements of the Drunk Max universe. And with Drunk Max 3 coming along, which is going to conclude the trilogy, and as a prequel, it's kind of given you the idea of we can expand things in this world. It's not just him stuck in his house, interacting with himself. And so I really think at the end of the day, when the trilogy is complete, Drunk Max 2 is going to kind of be that just silly, entertaining middle chapter in the trilogy. If the first film was intended to be the intro, a silly intro, and the last film is intended to be a more grounded prequel that finishes the story, then the middle chapter was basically the biggest thing Max ever did while being a drunk god, and it's just like a fun little entertaining movie. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this behind the scenes take. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my thoughts and commentary and ideas and everything that happened. Um, be sure to check out all the other videos I have on my channel and whatnot, and we'll be making more Max movies, well, one more Max movie in the future, and actually right around the corner we're going to be filming, so it's going to be really cool, and hopefully we'll have another one of these videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care.